welcome to Ag PhD. I'm Brian Hefty.
And I'm Darren Hefty. Thanks for joining us today. Late season weed escapes have been the biggest topic this summer. We'll talk about an overlapping residual strategy to help you defeat it.
One of the biggest questions farmers have each year is how much nitrogen can I put on my soil safely? We're going to answer that question today when we talk a little about soils.
We have a tough to control weed of the week, but first, here's this week's Farm Basics.
Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty Herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty Herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
All right, so it's getting a little cold out. I even had to put my jacket on. And you know, that makes me think about fall weed control, that everybody says, oh, fall is the best time to kill weeds in your lawn. But here's the thing, we want you out there probably a week or two before your first hard killing frost if you're gonna do a great job to have a nice clean lawn going into next spring.
All right, there's a few things to think about here. First of all, you've got trees, you've got bushes, you've got flowers. All those we want to try and be as cautious around as possible with anything that we're spraying in the lawn. But the other thing is just this. Once we get that cooler weather, we start to see that flush of weeds come back. If you had a hot, dry summer, chances are some of those things kind of went away for a little while. Well, now they're back and they're worse than ever. Here's your shot to control weeds, not only for now, but also for next spring. If we can wipe those weeds out, next spring could start off with just beautiful grass in your lawn. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, is a lot of people say, well, I'm just not gonna spray because winter's gonna be here shortly and then that'll take care of it and I'll just wait to spray until spring. No, what we want you to do is spray in the fall and in the spring. That's where you get the best control. We especially see it with weeds like dandelions. If you spray in the fall and then you hit it again in the spring, you've just about wiped out your dandelion issue.
Well, I think about a lot of the weeds that we're talking about here when we think about clovers and dandelions, those types of weeds. If you can hit them really hard in the fall, now when winter comes around, even if you didn't completely kill the weed, their chances of surviving through the winter are about zero. And if you can hit them really good, get the grass to fill back in this fall, that's even better yet. Now next spring you've got a thick lawn that's going to choke out weeds. And when we talk about weed control, most people think, okay, that involves spraying a herbicide. That's part of the equation. The other side is fertility. We've got to have good fertility out in our lawns so that grass can grow thick enough to try and choke out those weeds too.
So on the fertility side, what we suggest you do is pull some soil samples from your lawn. Now I realize you may say, well, I thought that was just for farmers and doing that on their production acres. No, you can do that in your lawn as well. You want to pull a 4-inch core, if not a 6-inch core, but the point is you've got to pull some soil out, and what we want to have is about the same amount of soil at 1 inch as 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inch. And the reason why we want that is because if, let's say, you just skim some dirt off the top, all that's going to tell you is what your 0 to 1 inch soil looks like. We want to know what's going on down a little bit deeper. So for farmers, we always say 0 to 6 inch. For someone with a lawn, I don't have a big problem if you want to just pull a 4-inch core, but really we prefer to pull a 6-inch soil core. Once you get that result back, then you can see, hey, how am I doing on phosphorus or potassium or micronutrients, and get that fertility program in line.
The other side of weed control in your lawn is just how high are you cutting that lawn? Are you cutting it really short and close to the ground because you don't want to have to be out there that often? Or are you leaving it a little bit taller? By leaving that lawn just a little bit taller, all of a sudden we've got that much more canopy and less sunlight has potential to hit the ground, and we've got less of a chance for weeds to come up.
Okay, let's talk about herbicide selection. A lot of people are wondering, well, should I have this combination or that combination, or what should I go by? My suggestion is just use straight 2,4-D. Personally, I prefer to use LV6, but a lot of people will use AMI.
I use AMI.
I don't care which one you want to use. Just use straight 2,4-D that you're going to buy from a herbicide dealer, not from a lawn and garden store, because usually what you're going to find in a lot of these retail centers is watered down product. We want the good stuff. It's way less expensive, and then you can have a good strong dose, because that's really what we're after. We want you to use the highest labeled rate in your lawn. And in terms of mixing it up, that's one of the big questions that we get all the time. How much do you throw in per gallon of water? Well, it just depends on how fast you're going to walk, and it's kind of the trial and error method. So unless you're turning the grass completely brown, you need to continue bumping that rate
Well,
probably a little bit. You want just a little bit of brown on your grass, and that shows you, ooh, I'm just at about the rate where it's going to start hurting the grass, but now I've got a tremendous amount that's actually getting on in there and killing the weeds.
There's some pretty good guidelines on the labels, and what some people will do too is say, all right, I have this many square feet, this is how much product I can use, and they'll mix up a big batch and they'll just keep spraying until it's gone. You don't want to get carried away here on the rate, and you don't want to be too light either. The other thing I was going to say is, here we are. We're in the fall. Trees are dropping their leaves. Flowers are done for the year. This is your shot. This is your best shot. In the spring, it's tough to get that timing right because sometimes it's really cold and it seems like it's winter, and then boom, it's summer. And when that happens, all of a sudden all the flowers are coming back, the trees are coming back, and it's tough to really take a good shot at those weeds because you're worried. So here's your shot, get after the weeds this fall.
All right, so our suggestion again is do some soil testing, properly fertilize, and use a good strong rate of 2,4-D, the maximum labeled dose.
That may not be much different advice than you'll hear for our Weed of the Week. We'll talk about this tough weed coming up later in the show.
Regalia RX biofungicide activates a plant's natural defense system, limiting the effects of disease and improving overall plant health. Regalia RX complements your fungicide program to optimize yield and strengthen return on investment. Ask your retailer for Regalia RX today.
Working in agriculture over the past 3 decades, I saw a need for an accurate way to apply dry product to seed. That's where our Changing Times applicators come in. The CT applicator brush sifts powder into small particles, resulting in proper distribution. Quantities can be adjusted by the speed of the brush rotation. This allows for even and accurate distribution of product. Application at the time of planting can be used with any seed delivery system and saves farmers time, labor, and money. Remember, CT applicators for the Changing Times.
Looking to maximize yield? Quick Roots from Monsanto Bioag is a microbial seed inoculant that allows the plant root to explore a greater volume of soil, the key to higher yields. Quick Roots continues to generate yield response on corn, soybeans, wheat, and more, and is applied to the seed so the live microorganisms go right to work enhancing seedling vigor, increasing the uptake of certain nutrients including NPK, and expanding root volume. Maximize yield on your farm this season. Get Quick Roots today.
What if instead of running test plots on 10 acres, you could test on 10,000? With Farmers Business Network, the world becomes your plot trial. FBN is the independent farmer-to-farmer agronomic network. FBN connects real data from tens of thousands of fields and provides you trusted analysis on hundreds of seeds, practices, and field performance to maximize your profits. Find out how your field seeds and practices compare today by joining the FBN community at farmersbusinessnetwork.com. Just $500 per year for unlimited acres.
Dirty work pays. That is if your dirty work includes a Soil Max Gold Digger tile plow. Soil Max tile plows feature zero deflection technology. With the only tile plow factory paired with Ag Leader's IntelliSlope control system, you eliminate the need for grade calculations and lasers. So make your next investment in a Soil Max Gold Digger. Better yield, longer planting and harvest windows, better water management is all yours with Soil Max. Visit soilmax.com.
Your time is valuable. That's why you need a Hagie STS application system. Hagie STS products are designed for precision and efficiency, allowing you to make applications all season long with just one machine. Contact your Hagie rep today.
Darren and I were recently at some agronomy training, and one of the things the trainers were talking about all day long was overlapping residuals. What that means is you start with a residual herbicide down, usually pre-emerge, and then before that residual runs out, you throw another residual herbicide out there. The reason why they're suggesting that you do this is because we're having so many problems with resistant weeds. So the idea was it's a lot easier to kill some of these weeds before they get up, and we can do that if we've got 2 different residual modes of action out there.
The big key here is you want to have effective modes of action. So you don't want to have, hey, I get ALS resistant weeds and I'm going to use Authority first or Authority assist. And you say, well, I've got 2 different modes of action there. No, you have 1 because the other one is ineffective on your weeds. So you have to kind of keep those things in mind. Then when we're looking at different residuals, when are you putting them out there? In different areas of the country, this is going to vary a little bit. When you move further north in the Corn Belt, where we're at, the frost is just coming out of the ground. We're out in the fields, we get some herbicide on, and we're planting almost right away. When you move further south, Guys say, well, I may need to start with residuals out in February because I've got some weed flushes coming and I'm not going to be planting for a while yet. I don't want to have to spray Roundup every other day or Liberty or Gramoxone or something else to burn down the weeds that are coming up. I get that, but we have to look at during that cropping season, we have to have enough residual to get us until we get to crop canopy and a little beyond. When we're doing this, we can't rely on the same mode of action just over and over and over again. And I see a lot of the pre-emerge herbicides now with group 15s in them for soybeans. That's fine, but think about what additional residuals we're going to put on later in the season. Oftentimes it's more of group 15s.
Let's start with this. If you're in an area where you might need a burn down way before you plant and then another burn down right when you plant, that's an area where you should be considering cover crops. That's the reason why we're standing in a cover crop field today. After wheat harvest, cover crops are put on this ground, and hey, if this was going to be a spring crop, they wouldn't get killed off until the spring, unless of course winter kill was to do it for them. But the point is, if you could have a cover crop that grew over the course of the winter into the spring, that could help hold your weeds down, and that might be something to consider in your area. It all depends on your geography. But let's come back to what Darren said a little bit ago about these soybean residual herbicides. Let's just talk about a very specific plan of action for soybeans. What we encourage you to do is right before you plant the beans, use 3 different modes of action if you're having problems with resistant weeds. We want you to use a yellow, that would be Treflan, Sonaline, or Prowl, plus Metribuzin, plus one of the PPOs, either Authority or Valor, not Sharpen. Sharpen doesn't give you enough residual. We can't use a high enough rate in soybeans, otherwise we're going to hurt the soybeans. So we want you to use either Valor or Authority. So you got 3 different modes of action there pre. Then early post-emerge, like what Darren's talking about, you can follow with a Group 15. What he means by that is Outlook, Warrant, Dual, one of those types of products.
Well, a lot of times in the mix, we also have an ALS type product. And you say, okay, well, wait a minute. You just said ALS resistance is a big deal. It is with certain weeds. With other weeds, it's not. I like using products like First Rate, Pursuit, those kinds of things that do have some residual to them. I like using them in my post-emerge mix.
If
so that
you have
may
the
be,
right weeds.
Yeah, that may be another thing where you say, you know what, I've got some mare's tail out there that's not ALS resistant. I could add in a First Rate for some help that's also going to give me some residual later on. Or I've got some cockleburs and sunflowers out there. I can put that Pursuit or Raptor out there, control those weeds, and get a little bit of residual for a future flush of some other weeds that may be coming.
Well, the big thing here is right away when we start talking about overlapping residuals, using 3 pre-emerge herbicides, you're going, oh my goodness, don't you guys know that commodity prices are down? Look, I get that. We farm too. But here's what I do know. Weeds are a terrible, terrible issue if you've got very many of them at all. It does not take many weeds to dramatically hurt your yield. And by dramatically, I'm talking 3 to 5 bushels. And you might say, well, 3 to 5 bushels doesn't sound dramatic. To me, it is, because that's a lot of lost dollars in soybeans. And we can easily afford to throw an extra herbicide out there or 2 for 3 to 5 bushel yield loss. So our point is, hey, start with one of these good residual herbicide programs, the 3 pre's like we're talking about. You can even follow with, let's say, Warrant. You can do all that stuff for maybe 25 bucks an acre. Do you know what it costs to go with 1 shot of Cobra to try to rescue your Palmer pigweed or your water hemp or kochia? It's going to cost you 20 bucks. So why wouldn't you just put $20 out there for the 3 pre's, and then if you need to, you can follow with another, whatever it is, $7 approximately for a Warrant, something like that, if you need to. Well, you're investing similar money and you're gonna have way better weed control than trying to go out and rescue this disaster with 1 shot of Cobra that's going to burn the beans and not kill the weeds. And I just want you to understand, Cobra is a fine product when it's used appropriately. So if I've got a good residual program out there and I have a few weed escapes and I kill the weeds when they're 2 to 4 inches tall, Cobra is fine. But the point is, Cobra is not a complete treatment.
Just want to make a comment on the corn side too. We see many guys using cut rate pre's in front of corn, and we're having a lot of weed issues this year in corn. And you say, wow, what's going on in corn? I thought we could do a good job.
But wait a second, it all depends on what you're talking about here. If we're talking Roundup Ready corn, you're gonna go spray Roundup to kill the grass, fine. Then I'm real big on, hey, let's switch it up. What are we using for herbicide? So maybe instead of using a straight harness, we're gonna switch over to Verdict. We're gonna use Balance Flex. We're gonna do something that's got good broadleaf activity on the #1 target weed we're after, like as Darren was mentioning, Palmer pigweed or water hemp or whatever your #1 target is. But there are a lot of guys going into next year that are looking at conventional corn. Then it's a whole different deal. We do not want you using Verdict. We don't want you using Balance Flex. We don't want you using any of these products that are combinations of grass and broadleaf killers. Use the straight grass killer at the full rate, and if you want to spike in a broadleaf killer like a Balance Flex at a lower rate or a Sharpen at a lower rate, fine. But the point is, in conventional corn, we don't have the great rescue option of Roundup or Liberty, something like that. All we have is $25 of Accent.
And as usual, I was looking at it the exact opposite way of, hey, instead of just putting that low rate broadleaf herbicide out, you could spike in some more grass herbicide. Brian says, take your grass herbicide and spike in broadleaf. It's the same thing. We're just getting a good, strong rate of grass herbicide.
If you need that broadleaf herbicide, and that's the whole point of our discussion today, is if you're in an area where you're having problems with resistant weeds or just flat out general weed control, we want you to consider using overlapping residuals. So start with a residual herbicide on your target weed, follow with a different mode of action residual on your target weed later on.
The question is, though, is that the right strategy to control our weed of the week? Can you identify this week's weed?
We know that the future is liquid. That's how agriculture liquid fertilizer creates the highest quality products on the market. Because we're committed to finding the best raw materials at the best price possible and getting them from us to you in the most sustainable, responsible ways possible. Agriculture liquid fertilizers, helping you grow the future.
Presenting the new 2016 Apache sprayer. If you could save money and increase yield, why wait? Delaying change can cost you money.
It's phenomenal the return of investment it brings back. In my mind, a sprayer is the biggest return of investment you can bring back.
Apache owners apply in half the time of a pull type, apply when they want versus custom, and spend less than Hydrostat owners, not to mention less weight on their crops. Go ahead and compare. We hope you do. Visit etsprayers.com to locate a dealer and how to save with an Apache. Apache, now more than ever.
There are no marks of conflict lining this landscape. No echoes of economic hardship. Just the unmistakable murmur of Mother Nature's hand. In the perennial quest to outperform, ensure your crop gets the nutrients it craves with a Veil Phosphorus Fertilizer Enhancer. Nothing helps protect your investment more, so you can grow confidently no matter what comes your way. Avail. Hold your ground.
A farmer's attention to detail is what makes the difference. You take the time for service management because you know how vital it is to your operation. You service your field like everything else because soil sampling makes all the difference and gets the results you want. Download the app Soil Test Pro and start grid sampling today. Keep your farm growing strong. The more you test, the more you know.
Take a look inside any rotary combine and you'll find single rotor technology. Technology Case IH introduced over 35 years ago with the axial flow combine. But unless it gives you more bells and whistles with fewer belts and chains, more power using less fuel, it's not an axial flow. Because while the heart of every rotary combine beats red, only Case IH gives you the power to do more.
One of the most important tests you can get on a soil test is cation exchange capacity. What that tells you is the holding capacity of your soil. It's a measurement of the type of clay you have, the amount of clay you have, and the amount of organic matter in your soil.
Knowing that cation exchange capacity helps us understand our soil just a little bit more so we can be better managers of those nutrients as we're putting them out in the field. We don't want to put so much out that our soil can't hold it at any one point. Or the other side of that is we want to understand, hey, if we're putting stuff out in our soil, what does our crop need and when does it need it and how do we time those things?
Yeah, well, it's not just nutrients, it's water, it's herbicide. How much of anything can your soil hold? And basically with this cation exchange capacity number, the higher the number, the more your soil can hold of everything. So our general rule is when we see a cation exchange capacity of less than 5, that tells us we've got really light soil, really low organic matter soil. If we're less than 10 even, we consider that a lighter soil. If we're in the range of 10 to 20, we'd kind of call that a medium soil. And then if we're over 20, it's a heavy soil. And here's one of the main things that we use this cation exchange capacity number for. It gives you a starting point to understand your soil's nitrogen holding capacity. So just to give you a starting point on nitrogen, you want to multiply your cation exchange capacity times 10. That'll tell you roughly how much nitrogen your soil can hold at any one time. So let's just say, for example, you have a CEC of 15. 15 times 10 is 150. Your soil can hold 150 pounds. If you already have 30 pounds in the soil, that means don't apply any more than 120 pounds on this next shot.
Well, knowing what nutrients your soil can hold is an important thing, but also controlling the weeds is critical. We'll show you how to stop this tough weed coming up next.
The Weed of the Week is sponsored by the Enlist Weed Control System from Dow AgroSciences, a new herbicide and trait system that will build on glyphosate.
Farming isn't just in the land, it's in you. Take control of weeds like never before. Enlist builds on the Roundup Ready system, combining proven control of a new 2,4-D and glyphosate in Enlist Duo herbicide. Protect what matters without changing the way you farm. Talk to your seed or crop protection supplier today.
Weed of the week is Musk Thistle. And when we were talking about controlling weeds in lawns earlier in the show, I was thinking about this weed that, if you get Musk Thistle in its first year, when it's in a rosette stage close to the ground, much easier to control. Many times in the fall, we see those rosettes out in a pasture or rangeland or in ditches, this kind of thing, and we don't really pay much attention. Oh, well, that's no big deal. It's not till the next year when they bolt and grow big and tall and put on that seed head that we think, oh man, I got to do something about Musk Thistle. But if that's how you're looking at it, you're totally missing the boat. We want to try and kill Musk Thistle in the first season if we at all possibly can.
Yeah, so Musk Thistle is a biennial weed. It's only going to live 2 years, and the reason why we want to kill it in the first year is before it goes to seed. That's the time to get it. Once it goes to seed, now you got to deal with it for many years. Well, Musk Thistle, we often think about Musk Thistle and Bull Thistle in the same breath because they're both biennial thistles. They're both a big problem in a lot of pastures around the country. But with Bull Thistle, it's got a lot of spikes to it, whereas Musk Thistle, yeah, especially in its first year, it's got this great big rosette, little wider leaf, that kind of thing. But either way, the control methods are going to be the same. The best thing you can use is straight Milestone. That's the very best product. Second best product would be Tordon, and then after that, your best bet is to hit it with a high rate of 2,4-D or dicamba.
The other thing you can do is use one of the combination products. There are many different combinations out there that have either a Milestone or a Tordon as the base. Then they also have a 2,4-D or maybe an Ally or something like that in the mix. That's fine, and you can do that if you've got lots of other weeds that you say, hey, that's not the only weed I have a number of other weeds out there. That's fine. The other thing you can do is spot spray. Many guys will say, well, I don't know if I want to spend $5 to $10 an acre to kill weeds, but if you do it in a spot spray, it gets much more cost effective.
Well, the big thing here is we just want to get these weeds under control in the fall, so then we have even better chance for those weeds to die over the winter.
That's all time we have for this week's weed, but Iron Talk is coming up next.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
The AFS Connect Farm Management System from Case IH connects you, and only you, to the information you need most from your equipment, from anywhere, at any time. AFS Connect, only from Case IH.
2015 appears to be delivering bin-busting corn yields for many across the country. To handle all that grain, adding a grain cart to your operation is like adding another half a combine in the time savings that your farm could enjoy. There are many new features of the grain carts that are making them easy to use and more durable in the past. It's our topic in today's Iron Talk. Our grain cart has a hydraulically adjustable spout on the end of the delivery tube. It's so much easier to direct the flow of grain while unloading than it used to be, and we're able to fill and load our grain trucks exactly how we wanted, even if the truck or grain cart didn't get lined up just perfect. The auger wagon we're running has a pendant controller that controls 3 hydraulic controls with 1 outlet. The improved lighting on the newer carts is also really nice. Today's carts are also being built better to be lasting longer and having less downtime with breakdowns or problems. The hitch on our cart is a great example. It's made with austempered cast iron and fits category 4 or 5 drawbars. A scale is certainly a must for us on the farm as well. The ability to fill trucks to their legal hauling capacity reduces trips to haul grain, eliminates the worry of overweight loads heading down the road, and makes bookwork easy as you know exactly how many pounds of grain are going into your bins. So if you're looking to speed up your harvest this year with a new grain cart, there are plenty of new features that will save you time, money, and headaches in the field. That's all for today's Iron Talk, and now back to the show.
When we use agriculture liquid, we'll usually end up with 2.7 to 3 pounds of gain per animal a day. We had 100 head out on a pasture this last fall that gained at 2.7. You know, they made about $450. We usually get about a 10-day start. It's ready 10 days early, and we're grazing and they're waiting and we're gaining.
Being a farmer means securing your land and livelihood for the future. Harvest Solutions from Capello USA have the grit to get you there. Our product lines for corn, sunflowers, and forage are designed for efficiency and longevity, preventing harvest loss while minimizing maintenance and downtime. To do everything you can to advance your farmland to the next generation, call us at 855-CAPELLO or visit us at capellousa.com. Capello USA, Italian craftsmanship, American grit.
For lower cost, higher production, Mandaco Agri leads with versatility unmatched. Twister is the vertical tillage unit for no-till as well as conventional tillage. Twister's ease of maintenance is forgiving and rocks and has contour conformity equaling 0 downtime. Our hydraulically adjusted coulter angles make residue management easier, less costly. Spring or fall, the Mandaco Twister vertical tillage unit is the new leader. See your Mandaco Agri dealer. Visit northcountrymarketing.biz or call.
Precision in grain moisture management can save you thousands in spoilage and elevator docks. The AgriDry Bullseye Controller monitors temperature and grain moisture and is available for all dryer makes and models. Plus, our AD-Link feature gives you 24/7 remote monitoring and allows you to control your dryer wherever you are. Call us today for more information.
Dry Load Store, 1-855-AgriDry.
Presenting the new 2016 Apache sprayer. If you could save money and increase yield, why wait? Delaying change can cost you money.
It's phenomenal the return of investment it brings back. In my mind, a sprayer is the biggest return of investment you can bring back.
Apache owners apply in half the time of full type, apply when they want versus custom, and spend less than hydrostat owners, not to mention less weight on their crops. Go ahead and compare. We hope you do. Visit etsprayers.com to locate a dealer and how to save with an Apache. Apache, now more than ever.
What if instead of running test plots on 10 acres, you could test on 10,000? With Farmers Business Network, the world becomes your plot trial. FBN is the independent farmer-to-farmer agronomic network. FBN connects real data from tens of thousands of fields and provides you trusted analysis on hundreds of seeds, practices, and field performance to maximize your profits. Find out how your field seeds and practices compare today by joining the FBN community at farmersbusinessnetwork.com. Just $500 per year for unlimited acres.
A strong community contains a lot of moving parts. Good jobs, a healthy economy, and maybe most importantly, pride. At Poet, we are proud to be doing our part, creating new local jobs and spurring economic development while producing products that improve lives around the globe. Together, we're not just working to serve our community, but to change the world. And that's something we can all be proud of. See the world differently with Poet.
Closed captioning for Ag PhD is sponsored by Norwood Sales.
On your farm, you need speed and year-round effectiveness in your tillage program. The Quick Till from Norwood Sales allows you to move quickly through your fields, maximizing time and improving yield. Constructed of heavy-duty materials, the Quick Till is ideal for both spring and fall applications, from preparing a healthy seedbed early in the season to breaking up corn residue after harvest. For more information about how a Quick Till can improve fields on your farm, call Norwood Sales today.
That's all the time we have for today's show, but before we go, I just want to invite you to tune into the Ag PhD radio show. You'll find us at 2 p.m. Central each weekday on SiriusXM Channel 147.
And don't miss the next Ag PhD TV show. We'll have another Weed of the Week, Farm Basics Iron Talk, and a whole lot more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for watching Ag PhD.
Only 11.6 cents per dollar spent on food in America goes back to American farmers and agribusinesses. Where does the other 88.4% go? Visit rnmf.org to find out.